Good morning, everybody. How's it going? Hope your Thursday is going well so far. And we have some stuff to talk about today. We are about 8 hours away, 8.5 hours ish, from a pretty important game. The Los Angeles Rams traveling to Seattle to play the Seattle Seahawks. Division rivalry game, Thursday night football game, so primetime game, opportunity to get into second place in the division. There's a lot on the line in this one for the Seahawks. You win, we as fans are going to start to at least entertain the possibility of us getting back to where we thought we could get to in the before the season started. You lose, you look like a mediocre team through 5 games that maybe they can squeeze into the playoffs, but more likely they're going to get left behind in a really competitive division. So, a lot on the line. I'm not going to say this is do or die, but you can restore a lot of faith if you go out there and protect your home field and win against the LA Rams. Before I get into this game, I want to say, as far as I know, I'm not 100% sure, but I am pretty sure I am going to go live on the Hawks Nest channel in about 6 hours. So keep an eye out on his channel in 6 hours for a stream about where the Seahawks are right now and talking a little bit about this Rams game. So if you want to hear our combined thoughts, just wait a little bit. We should be done with that before the game starts. So keep an eye out for that. His channel this week. We alternate. And looking at this game, I'll go ahead and say what I'm thinking about it right now for you guys. And I'll probably reiterate some of these points in my video with Hawks Nest. But I'm looking at this game from 2 different angles. And I kind of feel like in order to win this game, you need both angles to kind of crash into each other and both basically coincide. You need both angles to happen at the same time, and sometimes that's not easy. Sometimes, these angles they don't meet that often. Sometimes you need both sides of the ball to really show up tonight. And I don't know how else to put it other than that this team needs a complete team effort tonight to win this game, because the Rams are good, they're dangerous, they're a problem, and if we see some of the stuff that we saw over the first 4 games, I don't think it's going to go well for us at all. So I'll start with the defense, because the defense tends to be the side of the ball that I criticize the most, because the way in which this team managed this roster over the last several years kind of forces me to. It is year 4 of the post Legion of Boom rebuild, and the reason why this rebuild happened in large part was the Rams. I talked about it in a video earlier this week, that 42-7 game at home that lost the division. After, losing that game and losing it in the way you did, you had to fire a lot of people and you had to get rid of a lot of players. And ever since then, while obviously we've been trying to rebuild a team that can win the Super Bowl, I kind of feel like a big part of that has been we're trying to build a team that can stop the Rams' offense. Because as the next couple years very clearly showcased, Carroll had a problem stopping that offense. After 42-7, they had big games on offense against us twice in 2018, twice in 2019, and then finally in 2020 we made some progress on them. And I even made a video last year after we beat the Rams 20-9, and I said, as much as I bash Pete Carroll and as much as I don't really like the way he's running this team, I do have to give him some credit. He took longer than he should have, but he was able to put together a defense that can stop the Sean McVay offense. Last year, honestly, we played 3 good games against the Rams offense. The one in LA, 23 points, it was okay. Defense played fine. Second game was great, 9 points. And then the playoff game, 30 points, but only 17 of those were really on the defense. The rest were, actually 16 points, I think. The rest was a defensive score and a special teams easy setup score. So I saw that. And I was like, okay, this train didn't move quite as fast as I thought it should have, but at least you did succeed in getting a real defense. And that's why I was so hard on Carroll when I saw our defense start the season the way they did with that embarrassing performance against the Vikings. Because I saw the defense play well at the end of the year last year, and I saw them finally get over the Sean McVay hump. I know you only beat them once, but you had 3 pretty good games against them on D. So I was just looking at a game like that, and I think to myself, you spend all this time on the defense, you've spent all these resources on the defense, and to go down the list again, this offseason alone, you paid Puna, you paid Carlos Dunlap, you paid some money to Al Woods, you paid some money to Benson Mayoa, not huge investments, but still, you gave Jamal his new contract, you're paying Bobby Wagner all this money, and to stretch it out a little bit, Jordan Brooks, first-round pick, LJ Collier, first-round pick, all these investments, and then I see what I saw against the Vikings, and I'm like, well, that was all a complete waste of time and money. But we're back to the team that really kind of forced us to rebuild in the first place. We're back to the team that actually kind of ended the Legion of Boom for good and forced us to go in a different direction. It might have happened anyway, I don't know, but that's kind of the game that I will always remember as the moment when it became clear that we couldn't do things this way anymore and we had to find something else. So, even though you did well against them last year, that's last year. This year, the Rams actually have a quarterback. They have Matt Stafford, who, I'm not going to say he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, but he's a good quarterback. He's better than Goff. And let's be straight honest for a minute here. The Rams' offense last year was not very good. They were actually below average. Yeah. I don't know what's wrong with me today. Sorry about that, everybody. But they didn't have a good offense last year, if we're being straight honest with ourselves. So stopping them last year is not a huge achievement. Now, this year, their offense is good. I think they're 6th in points and 10th in yards or something like that. Stafford's gotten off to a pretty good start. They have one of the best passing attacks in the league. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Deshaun Jackson has had a good start to the season. Tyler Higbee, he is who he is. It's a good offense. It's an offense that has been very productive through 4 games. Now, they can't run the ball, but against this run defense right now, I don't know if it matters. Seems like we can't stop anybody. Maybe this is the week that finally comes to an end. Maybe not. I don't know. But through 4 games, the Rams have not had a lot of success running the ball in terms of efficiency or volume. So, here's the thing, and I will go the other way in the next part of this video, but if you're going to spend all these assets on the defense, like I said, the picks, the money, the time spent teaching them, the time spent developing them, then you need to show up for this game. Okay? I mean, the Vikings game, not showing up for that game and getting embarrassed on defense like that was bad, don't get me wrong. But you really need to turn those resources, turn that money you spent, turn those draft picks you spent into a good game against the Rams. And I'm not expecting you to completely shut them down because they're good. Stafford's good. Their receivers are good. Their tight end is good. Their offensive line is pretty good. But you got to find a way to make some plays and get off the field some of the time so that your team has a chance to win. And if I don't see it against this team of all teams, the team that forced you into a rebuild in the first place, then I'm really going to wonder what the hell we've wasted the last 3+ years on. Because whatever we did, and we did a lot of things, it wasn't successful in stopping the team that made you realize it was time to do something else in the first place. But, and this is the other angle that I was talking about, I understand the way the NFL works right now. And when you're playing a really good offense like the Rams, and their offense is currently at least a top 10 offense, it's probably at least top 8, honestly. It might be in that top 5 area. I don't know exactly, but it's up there. You're not going to completely shut them down and win the game on defense. And I'm not expecting this defense to do that. Even if I thought this Seahawks defense was really good, I wouldn't expect them to do it. Last week, a lot of people thought the Carolina Panthers had the best defense in the NFL. Look what they did against Dallas. They got abused because Dallas has a good offense. And good offense beats good defense right now. Maybe there are some people out there who can make the argument that by the end of the season in the playoffs and when the weather gets bad, etc., it starts to reverse a little bit. But right now, if you've got the immovable object and the unstoppable force, that unstoppable force is busting through. So I'm not expecting us to shut them down. I'm expecting us to make some plays. I'm expecting us to do some positive things. We are healthy on defense, and I will definitely have some choice words for Carroll if I see some of the same stuff that I saw over the last 3 games on D, because if you leave cornerbacks 10 yards off Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, then Stafford will be more than happy to just take that free 10 yards every time. And you will see the same results that you saw against Kirk Cousins and Ryan Tannehill to a certain extent, and honestly, even Jimmy Garoppolo to a certain extent. So I also need the offense to start to come together in a way that they just haven't quite gotten to in the last in the last 4 games. And I've been mixed on this offense so far. I think that the process is trending in the right direction and the results have been okay, but there have definitely been some moments of frustration not being able to pick up any first downs against the Titans at the end of the game. 7 3-and-outs or 8 3-and-outs or whatever it was against the 49ers is highly unacceptable. But I think they are moving in the right direction. But the Rams' defense is actually not good. And I know that sounds weird, but something has changed. They lost a few players. They lost their defensive coordinator. Raheem Morris looks like he doesn't really know how to manage that core of talent. And their defense is pretty bad through the first 4 games. So, no more. I'm not expecting 50 points, but there can be no excuses to not show up on offense in this game either. This is a softer opponent than we were predicting before this game started. You got to go in there and score points. So, we might not have Chris Carson, and that's unfortunate because you can run on the Rams. The Cardinals ran for over 200 yards on them. I think the Bears and the Colts both ran for over 100. You can pass on them too. The Cardinals passed on them pretty well. The Buccaneers threw for over 400 yards on them. There are some things you can do on that Rams defense. Through 4 games anyway, they haven't been strong in either aspect. We know they have talent. We know that Aaron Donald might be the best defensive player in the league. We know Jalen Ramsey's probably the best cornerback in the league. But that talent is currently not resulting in preventing points that well. And they're coming off one of the worst games that they have played on defense probably since Jalen Ramsey got there a couple years ago. So there can be no excuse for letting those guys beat you. And I understand that we as Seahawks fans are kind of mentally prepared for Aaron Donald to just single-handedly beat us. And maybe you're prepared for Jalen Ramsey to take away one half of the field against our passing attack and basically just cripple our offense. But clearly, other teams in this league are not having a problem finding ways. The Cardinals went up and down the field on them. The Buccaneers were productive against them. I'm not saying that the Bears and Colts gashed them, but I watched both of those games. The Bears and Colts both went up and down the field on the Rams. They just couldn't finish it. So you can move the ball on this D. You can score on this D. You just have to make the right decisions in the red zone, which, hey, that's one thing that Wilson's usually pretty good at. He usually makes good decisions in the red zone. So there can be no excuse of, oh, the Rams are the best defense in the league like they were last year. They look like a shell of their former selves from last year. So like I said with the defense, how I'd better not see receivers get 10-yard cushions and just let Stafford take those 10 to 15 free yards every single play, the way you did against Cousins and Tannehill. On offense, similarly, I'd better not see Aaron Donald single-handedly wreck your offense. You had better find a way to make sure it's not him. If they beat you, okay. If they beat you, fine. I understand it's a good team. It's not an easy game. There's a reason why it's a coin flip on ESPN. But don't let it be because Aaron Donald single-handedly beats you. Don't let it be because Jalen Ramsey single-handedly beats you. Find another way. If Leonard Floyd is going to beat you, then okay, I can live with that. Just tell me you're at least smart enough to understand that Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey cannot be the guys who single-handedly beat you on that D. And that's really all I can say for this game. You're going to need both sides to show up. I'm going to need this defense to show some return on the investment that we have put in them. Money, picks, time, etc. And you're going to need the offense. I'm going to need the offense to play well against a good defense. Not good defense. Sorry. Because through 4 games, there's no reason to believe this Rams defense is anywhere close to what it was last year when they were number 1 in the league in both categories. It seems like what they've lost has really hurt them. And I'll say it again. Even the bad offenses they played, or the lesser offenses that they played, like the Colts and the Bears, they moved the ball. They could go up and down that field. They just couldn't finish drives. So that's about all I can say for the X's and O's of this game. You just need a complete effort. You're relatively healthy, especially on defense. So that's another reason why I need this defense to show me something. Prove to me that the investments were worth something. You didn't do it against the Vikings. You didn't really do it that much against the Titans. Not really even against the Niners, a game that you won. So show me that the last 3+ years of building this defense wasn't wasted. It's for games like this that you do that for. Last thing I can say is that there is a part of me that is kind of sort of preparing myself mentally to just get whipped tonight. I'm aware of that possibility. I can see it coming. I can kind of see it happening. It's pretty easy to imagine in your head right now how this Seahawks team can get blasted off the field, right? Because they play off receivers and give up so many easy plays on defense. And then the offensive line there are things about it that I like, there are things about it that I don't. But one thing I'll say is that there have been a handful of times in the Wilson era where I went into a game kind of preparing myself to get whipped. And it doesn't happen in those games pretty much ever. When we get whipped, I'm usually blindsided. I was a little blindsided when the Rams whipped us 4 years ago. I was blindsided when the Packers whipped us 5 years ago. So if we get whipped, then that'll be one of the rare times where I kind of saw the bullet coming. And as it was going through my brain, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm not terribly surprised by that. So let's hope that they can show up again and at least not get killed. All right, kind of a rambly video. This was kind of a weird one, I know. Sorry for that, but my thoughts are all over the place with a game like this. And impress me. Show me something. Show me that you are better than the team that you looked like over the first 4 games.